Hello, good evening. Now, today we are going to see a poem written by Kamla. The name of the poem is My Mother at 66. Kamla is a poet who has also written many poems under the pen name Madhavi Kutty. She was born in Kerala and is one of India's first poets. Her subject matter is basically related to her personality, beautiful, sensitive, bold, and tormented. External factors do not reflect in her writings. Her writings bring out her true inner feeling. Her favorite poem is Conversation. In the poem, My Mother, at 66, she talks about her mother. This poem is based on a mother daughter relation, and the poet shares her feelings for her mother. This is a very touching poem written by her. In this, the poet she expresses her feeling towards her mother who's getting old or aged. The aging face of her mother brings the pain of, or the fear, we would say fear that she might lose her. The summary of the poem is once the poet went to visit her mother. On her way back to the airport to return to Cochin, she looked at her mother who was seated beside her in the car. Her mother had dozed off to sleep, and her aging face was smoky in color like ash. Her mouth was open and she resembled a dead body. The poet realized that her mother was old. She felt pain and sympathy for her. Her mother needed love, affection, and care. In order to come out of the gloom, the poet shifts her glance and looks out of the car's window. There she saw young children running around and the trees passed by. These things were contrary to the aged face of the mother or the aging face of her mother. They symbolizes energy, like these trees which were moving fast, or children who were running out of their house into the playground. They were all showing energy, life, and happiness. As they reached the airport, the poet was about to leave for the aeroplane. She glanced at her mother one more time. Her mother appeared weak and pale, just like the moon in the winter season, which seems to have lost all its strength. The poet felt the pain and fear of losing her mother. She was reminded of her childhood when she used to fear of losing her mother for some time. As a child, she would not bear to be separated from her mother even for few moments. But now the loss is going to be permanent as her mother was about to die and she would lose her forever. Now, this is the poem. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me, dozed, open mouthed, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked, but soon put that thought away and looked out at the young trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their homes. But after the airport's security check, standing few yards away, I looked again at her, wan, pale, as a late winter's moon, and felt that mother's familiar ache, my childhood's fear. But all I said was, "See you soon, Amma." All I did was smile and smile and smile. Now, the explanation of the poem goes like, first, when the poet was on her way to Cochin Airport with her old mother sitting beside her, she looks at her closely and presents before us her image. She compares her with a corpse, that is a dead body. This is a simile. Simile is a figure of speech to show comparison between her mother's face and a corpse. As she looks at her mother's pale and pallid face, she is struck with the horror of losing her, the pain, horror and the pain. The mother with the dozing face and open mouth is compared to the corpse. Here, the poet shows the typical love and affection which is present in a mother daughter relation. The poet is pained and shifts her attention outside the car in order to drive out the negative feelings. She changes her sad mood. The scene outside the window is growing life and energy, rapidly sprinting trees alongside the merrily playing children. Symbols used to symbolize like life, youth, and vitality. The poet here reminds The poet here is reminded of her own childhood when her mother had been young, whereas now she is encircled with the fear of losing her, and that has made her insecure. She is at the airport to take flight. It indicates departure and separation, which creates melancholy. That is, not happy, sad. As she bids goodbye to her mother, the image of the old, worn out mother in the twilight of years strikes her again. Here again, a simile is used to compare her mother with the late winter's moon, whose light is obstacled by fog and mist. As she looks old now, her personality is affected. The poet is feeling the pain of separation, leaving her mother and going. So her childhood fear is losing her mother, the childhood fear of losing her mother, which she feels that earlier it was just temporary. It was just for a few hours or few moments, but now could be forever as she could die of old age that is troubling her, that is haunting her. She is so pained that it is natural for her to cry, but she is keeping herself brave in front of her mother. She hides the tears and smiles. She bids farewell to her mother and keeping her hope of seeing her again alive, says, "See you soon, Amma." She hides her sorrow as she does not want to create a painful environment for her mother and conveys her that she is enjoying her life. Similarly, her mother should also be happy and enjoy her life. The poem revolves around the theme of advancing age and fear that adheres to its loss and separation. It is a sentimental account of the mother's approaching end through the eyes of the daughter. This seemingly short poem touches upon the theme of the filial bond between the mother and daughter, smeared in the backdrop of fear. The time spent with the mother is compared, and the fear of the future without her. It is a short poem without any full stop. The poem is like a long sentence, overflowing thought process. The poet uses the device of comparison and contrast, simile and repetition. The poet did not express her feelings. She smiled and said, "See you, Amma," because she wanted that her mother should live, and they could meet again. Let us now look at the poetic devices used in the poem. Simile. Simile is a comparison of two things by using as or like. Like in the sentence, you would see her face, yeah, her face ashen like that of a corpse. That means she's comparing her mother's aged face to a dead body or a corpse. Then, late winter's moon, as a late winter's moon. It is again saying, like in winter, the light of the moon is hidden by the fog and the mist. So, similarly, like her mother's personality is hidden because of the age in the face, the wrinkles, and that paleness. So, these are the examples of simile. Metaphor. Metaphor, it is a direct comparison of two things without using as or like. Like here we have the merry children spilling out. That means all the children are coming out of their homes and running to the playground. The young trees sprinting, that is moving fast, rapidly moving. So when you see from the car outside, you see the trees moving fast. Then the device here, personification is also used. Personification, when we give human characteristics to animals or plants or non-living things. Example, when we say trees sprinting, that is, the trees are moving fast. Anaphora is the repetition of a word or a phrase. Sorry. Anaphora is a repetition of the word or the phrase. Like we have here, smile, smile, and smile, where the word is repeated again. And alliteration, it is a repetition of a constant sound, like a consonant sound, like we have my mother, my mother, that thought, that thought. I said was see you soon. Said see soon. So all these are alliterations which I used. Now we see the difficult words. Doze. Doze is a power nap or a short sleep where we just say doze. It's just a very light sleep. Then ashen is the color of ash, which is like ash or pale. Corpse, a dead body. Sprinting, here it is shooting out of the ground, that is moving. Spilling, here it is to move out in great numbers. Wan, unnaturally pale as from physical and emotional distress. Ache is pain. Now let's see the short question and answers. We have one is what is the kind of pain and ache the poet feels? Why are the young trees described as sprinting? Why has the poet brought in the image of merry children spilling out of their homes? Why has the mother been compared to the late winter's moon? Yeah, if you want, you can just pause the video and read the answers. Yeah? Now, I just read out the answer for you. When the poet looks at her mother's face closely, she discovers that she has aged and her end is near. The feeling of her mother being old, needing care and help pains the poet as there is no one to look after her. She feels that her mother can die any moment and that is then she will lose her forever. Her childhood fear of losing her mother, which was then timely, but now it is going to be forever. The poet feels the pain of her mother's old age and her helplessness towards her. She was of the fear of separating from her mother forever upon her death. So, this is the pain and the ache she feels. And why are the trees described as sprinting? Young trees are being personified. They are when looked from the poet's moving car, they seem to be running fast because whenever you are traveling, if you look out of the window, you see the trees are going the opposite directions. So the poet found it to be strikingly opposite to her mother's look, uh, which was very still because she was sleeping. When the poet brought in the image of the merry children spilling out of their homes, here the poet draws the comparison between what is traveling with her and what she can see outside. It is a comparison of life and death. Her mother is sleeping with the mouth closed like a dead body, while outside she can see children who are full of life, energy, and enthusiasm. Why has the mother been compared to the late winter's moon? Just as in winter, the moon looks very dull because the light is covered with the mist and the fog. And here the mother's face was also very dull. She was looking very pale. Now, what do the parting words of the poet and her smile signify? The parting words of the poet shows her positive attitude. She overcomes her pain and fear, assures herself that her mother that that she assures herself and her mother that they would meet again. She is being very brave, which is indicated by the use of repetition in the poem. Smile, smile, and smile. Now, read the extract and answer the following questions. Driving from the parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother dozed, open mouthed, her face ashen like what of the corpse realized with pain. She was as old as she looked, but soon put that thought away. That is, now we have the question where was the narrator driving to and who was sitting beside her? The narrator was driving to the airport on her way to Cochin, and her mother was sitting next to her. What did the narrator notice about her mother? The narrator noticed that her mother had dozed off and she was looking old, pale, and weak. Why did the mother's face look like that of a corpse? The mother looked old, pale, and ashen. Since she had dozed off with her open mouth, the narrator felt that she looked like a corpse in that condition. Why did Okay, find the words from the passage which means slept lightly and dead body. That sleep lightly is doze and dead body is corpse. Yes? Now, looked but soon put that thought away and looked out at young trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their home. What did the narrator realize and how did she feel? The narrator realized that her mother had grown old and would not be around for very long. This thought brought a pain, or she felt sad when she came to know about this. This thought had come to her, in fact. What did she do then? She started looking out of the car's window in order to divert her attention to something else. What did she see outside? Outside, she saw trees moving fast as if they were sprinting, and also young children happily running out of their house to play. Now, find the words from the passage which means running fast and happy. Running fast, sprinting, and happy is merry. But at the airport security check, standing a few yards away, I looked I looked again at her, worn pale as the late winter's moon. Now, what is the name of the poet? It's Kamla Das, and the poem is My Mother at 66. What did the narrator do after the security check? The narrator stood a few yards away and looked at her mother's face again. Why did the narrator compare mother's face to the late winter's moon? The narrator's mother was old, frail, and was very pale, like in winter. The moon looks very dull because of the fog and mist around. Find out the words that from the extract, which means colorless, faded. Colorless is pale, faded is wan. Yeah. As a winter's moon left that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear, what has been compared to the winter's moon? The narrator's aging mother has been compared with the late winter's moon. Why is the comparison being made? Narrator's mother looked old, frail, and very pale, like a moon in the winter. So that is the comparison. Then, yes, we have to identify the poetic device in this line. The poetic device used in this line is the late winter's moon. That is a simile. And what is a familiar ache mentioned to in these lines? That means it refers to the narrator's childhood fear of losing her mother or fear of separation from her. But all, yeah, yes. Now, why did the narrator say, "See you soon, Amma"? The narrator said this to reassure her mother and herself that she would see her soon. After the pain of realizing that her mother had grown old, there is a mood of acceptance in the acceptance of the reality. Why did narrator smile and smile? Narrator tries to in put up as a brave child in front of the mother, in order to hide her true feelings of pain or at seeing the mother and weak condition of her mother. Smile and smile and smile is a poetic device. Identify it. It is a repetition. Yes. Yeah. The narrator's acceptance of the fact that her mother had been aged and wouldn't be long for years. Anima is the fond of addressing someone who is being addressed here. Anima means to addressing. The narrator is being addressed as Amma. It is not Anima, it's Amma. Like in Malayalam, the word Amma is used to address mother. Old familiar ache, the childhood's fear, but all I said, see you soon, Amma. All I did was smile, smile, and smile. What does the phrase similar familiar ache means? Familiar ache means here it tells the thought of being nagging about the frail old mother. What is the poet's childhood fear? The childhood fear was that of losing her mother and losing her old and aging mother one day. And the next one, what do the first two lines tell us about the poet's feeling for her mother? The first two lines tells that the poet is really feeling very bad at the thought of her mother growing old, and she is trying to sound hopeful while bidding farewell to her mother. What does the repeated use of the word smile means? The repeated use of smile indicates that she ran short of words, became emotional, and was trying to make an effort to hide her pain behind that smile. I saw my mother beside me, doors open mouthed, her face ashen like that of corpse, and realized with pain, who is I here? I here is the poet. What did I realize with pain? That is, the poet realized her aging mother is getting very old and she was not going to stay for a very long. Her corpse, like, on, noticed her pale face and she tries to associate that with the corpse. What is the realization painful? Why is the realization painful? The realization was painful as she felt that her mother might not live long. Identify the name, the figure of speech used in the sentence. The figure of speech is simile, ashen like that of a corpse. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me, doors open mouthed, her face ashen like that of corpse, and realized with pain when and where the poetess driving to. She was driving from her parents' home to the airport at Cochin on a Friday morning. Who was sitting beside her, and what did the poetess notice about her? It was her mother next to her, and she was seeing that she was getting old. What does the poetess compare her mother's face with, and why? The poetess compares her mother's face with a corpse, that is a dead body, because her mother's face has lost all its charm and her it became very pale, faded, and lifeless. Name the poem and the poetess. Name of the poem is My Mother at 66 and the poetess is Kamla Das. And she was as old as she looked, but soon put that thought away and looked out at the young trees sprinting, the messy children spilling out of their homes. What did the poetess realize? How did she feel? The poetess realized that her mother was old now. Her corpse like ashen face made the poet accept the fact that her mother was approaching death. This realization frightened the poetess. She felt restless and disturbed. Okay. What did the poetess notice outside? She noticed, okay, the second one. What did the poetess do then? The poetess tried to change the thought of her mind and distract herself from the thoughts. So she looks out of the window. What did the poetess notice outside? Outside, she sees young children playing and also young trees or the small trees moving rapidly in the opposite direction of the moving car. So these represent energy and youth in contrast to the thought of the old age and death. Explain the merry children spilling out of their home. It refers to the image that the young children were rushing out of their homes to play. These children are young, full of energy and happiness. They are in the direct contrast to the aging mother. Yes. What do you, who the young explain? Yeah. What do the young sprinting trees signifies? The young sprinting trees signifies the active, cheerful, bright, and energetic youth. Yes. And which thoughts did the poetess put away? The poetess puts away the thoughts of her mother, who is getting old, and the fear of losing her one day. I looked again at her, wan and pale, as the late winter's moon, and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear. The poet puts away the thoughts of her mother, who was getting old, and the fear of losing her one day. Now, the ninth one, the first question: who do I and her refer to, and how does her face appear? I refers to the poet Kamla Das, and her refers to her mother. Her mother was very old, and her face appeared withered and pale. Then, what do you mean by family ache? It refers to the poet's childhood pain and the fear of being separated from her mother. Her mother's old pale face made the poetess realize the fact of her eventual death. Name and explain the poetic device used in the second line as winter's moon and felt, yeah, as winter's moon. It is a simile. The mother's pale face or the old face is being compared with that of a late winter's moon to emphasize her withered face and gradually aging. Now, I felt that old familiar ache, my childhood fear, but all I said, see you, Amma, and I did was smile, smile, and smile. What do the poetess do? And the parting words of the poetess suggest. She said the parting words suggest the optimism of the poetess. They console the mother that she would return soon and give her a hope of survival. And she gives her the hope of survival. Why did she smile and smile? The poet smiled and smiled to conceal her fear and pain of separation from her mother. Again, the smile was to give an assurance of survival to her mother. Why did the poetess suppress her pain in presence of her mother in the airport? The poet smiled. The poetess did not want to increase the pain and agony of a mother who must be feeling sad but parting from her daughter, so she didn't show her the pain at the time of departure of the mother. Now we have long detailed answer, or it's an essay type answer which has to be written in 100 to 150 words. So we have two questions here. In today's fast world life, children neglect their aging parents. What do you think children can do to have an involved and inclusive relationship with their elderly parents? You can just pause the video and go through the answer. And the second one is the poor mother at 66 brings home the theme of aging is a natural process and is going to envelop me with me and all comment. The narrator sees her mother dozing, looking pale as a corpse. The pale face arouses the narrator's childhood of fear and losing, a fear of losing her, but she cannot say no on. She cannot stay on. She accepts her mother's aging as a natural process. She hides her pain and guilt under the poem. The narrator reveals on the complicity of the life in which we have to strike a balance and sometimes part with our dear ones, the close ones, as we have other commitments. Thank you. If you find this video or if you find this really useful, then please do like this video and share this video. And to get notification of our next video where you have some short answers and MCQs. So don't forget to subscribe. And the other video is also about the same lesson, same poem, and these two videos will be a complete learning for your lessons. So happy learning till we meet again. Thank you. Bye bye.